All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome to my class. So this is just a pre-recorded lecture about the story Dead Stars because we all know that we didn't have enough time to conduct in an online discussion about this story. So um, I hope before you watch this video, you've already read the Dead Stars because it'll be a lot better. Like you could relate easily to what I'll be discussing this morning about the Dead Stars if you've read the story yourself. Okay, so Dead Stars, and this was written by Paz Marquez Benitez. Okay, so before we go to the summary of this story, let me share to you a quote that was taken from this um, this story. So all these years since when he had been seeing a man called Alfredo Salazar and his affairs. Yes, this story is about affairs. Believes in true love and has optimism to discover ecstasy in it. And Esperanza is the first woman he falls in love with. The families of both of them are acquainted with each other, and hence they start a loving relationship because they already knew each other like since they were younger. Okay, um, their their friendship turned into love and then advanced to engagement. However, I think Alfredo wasn't really that sure as to his feelings for Esperanza because, of course, if he was that sure, he wouldn't fall for someone else, right? Okay, so both get engaged after 3 years of their relationship. Alfredo is a lawyer who has strong desire and wants warmth and compassion. However, Esperanza is an impassionate woman having strong will and principles. Alfredo's love for her soon fades when she meets Julia. Julia now becomes the new object of his desire. So, who on earth is Julia? And how did they meet each other? How did they first meet? Okay, so um, you'll already know the answer if you've read the story, but if you haven't, okay, just keep tuning in. Okay, so Julia Salas is the sister-in-law of the judge, who is a friend of Alfredo Salazar's father. Okay, so Alfredo Salazar's father, which we call Don Julian. Okay, we have here Don Julian, who has a friend, um, who is a judge. For a moment, trying to locate his name. Mhm. Del Val. Wait for a moment. Hey, I got lost. Mm, uh, Judge Del Valle. Okay, so we have here um Don Julian, and he has a friend who is a judge, which we call Judge Del Valle. And at the very beginning, before when they first when Alfredo first met Julia, he actually thought that she was the sister of the judge. Okay, so so he kept calling her Miss Del Valle because he thought that she was the sister of the judge, but it turns out she was the sister-in-law. So she's the sister of his wife. Uh, So, Mrs. Del Valle. Okay. So, um, when they first met, it was a good meeting. And because Don Julian and Judge Del Valle had their own circle. Okay, they had their own topic to talk to. Alfredo and Julia, on the other hand, had their own world as well. So that's where everything started, and that's how the start of a very dangerous spark. Yeah, I'd like to say it's very dangerous because Alfredo is already engaged, but yes. Okay, so here, Alfredo comes across her, Julia. He is strongly attracted to her from the very beginning of their conversation. On his visit to her with his father, actually, it was the visit of the judge, like to visit the judge, not really her. It just turns out that she was there, and that's how um they first met. So he engages himself in conversation with her and is attracted to her charm. Even is so passionate that he didn't disclose his engagement to Esperanza. So yes, he didn't tell Julia that he was already engaged. He kept it a secret. Why? Why did he keep it a secret? So, as to avoid the discovery of his fiancée, he keeps secrets from Esperanza too. So his days are doomed when he learns about Julia's return to his native town. So yes, later on the story, we are to discover that um, Julia was actually going to leave from that place, from the place from that countryside. They were about to leave. She was about to leave to be together with her family, and Alfredo wasn't happy about it. He he felt sad about it. Yes. Okay. So if you if you can open your copy of the Dead Stars, it's actually on page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 7 to 8. So the conversation goes, um, okay, so um, Julia said, I'm going home. And then the thought of Alfredo, the end of an impossible dream. When? He asked after a long silence. Tomorrow. I received a letter from father and mother yesterday. They want me to spend holiday at home. She seemed to be waiting for him to speak, and that's why he's waiting for him to speak. That is why I said this is the last time. And then Alfredo asked, "Can I come to say goodbye?" This guy. And then Julia answered, "No, you didn't need to." And then um Alfredo retorted, "No, but I want to." And then Julia answered, "There is no time." And yes, we can really see and hear how Alfredo was so attracted to her, even though he was already engaged. We can really see, like, he was so smitten by Julia. Ah, but guys, why are you always like this? You're kidding. Okay, so um, later on in the story, okay, when the church's function ends, Alfredo goes to meet her, though his fiancée is waiting for him. When he reaches there, he learns that Julia had already known about his engagement to Esperanza, and she wishes him for his marriage and leaves him. So this part of the book is on page. Okay, I'll keep on counting now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10th page. Okay, so it's funny because he wasn't expect oh well, he sort of thought that it was inevitable. for her to learn about the engagement, but he was hurt. And he noticed the change of Julia's he noticed a change of Julia's approach to him. So when she knew when he uh wait when Julia approached him, and then when they talked about his engagement, it was very he noticed that there was a change in how she acted in front of him. Okay, so uh, um it says here, Mr. Salazar. So this is Julia speaking, by the way. She broke into a silence. I congratulate you. For what? He asked. For your approaching wedding. Some explanation was due her, surely. Yet, what could he say that would not offend? Okay, so she continued, I should have offered congratulation long before, but mere visitors are slow about getting the news. Okay, so um and then oh wait, um and then he answered after a while, are your weddings interesting to you? When they are of friends, yes. Would you come if I asked you? Okay, so this is Alfredo asking, would you come if I asked you? And I wonder if you were Julia, how would you feel when the guy you were a bit attracted to was actually engaged and then suddenly asked you if you want to come to his wedding? It's really weird. But anyway, um, um, and then what? Okay, so again, he asked, would you come if I asked you? And then she answered, when is it going to be? May, he replied. May is the month of happiness, they say. They say, would you come? He asked. And Julia said, why not? No reason. I'm just asking. Then you will? And then Julia said, if you will ask me. And then Alfredo said, then I ask you. And then she replied, then I will be there. What a really odd conversation to have. I feel it feels like me as a reader, it feels really awkward to have this kind of conversation to the one you're like attracted to, like as a woman, if I were to be Julia, that's really awkward, right? Okay, so after that, okay, diba, Julia knew about his marriage already. I know his engagement. And then when he returned home, he gets a double blow. He finds Esperanza talking to her friend about loyalty and faithfulness. Alfredo senses a desire to communicate, so he supports the reason for craving and choice over dishonesty. Esperanza soon confesses that she knew about his affair with Julia in pursuit of his lust and heart's content. She encourages him to cancel the wedding. Okay. However, the wedding goes ahead as scheduled, and Alfredo surrenders to reason. Okay. So um after Esperanza knew about their wedding, at the end of the day, they did get married. So, padayot pa rin, even if he was already caught cheating. What a strong woman. Okay. So, uh, um, going further in the story, this is actually in the third part of the story, because if you notice in the story, it was divided into three, right? So the first, second, and the third. Okay. So this one is already in the third part. This happened 8 years later. So Esperanza and Alfredo got married, and then 8 years later, this happened. So on his return home, oh no, 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 wait. Okay, so near Julia's native town, Alfredo, after 8 years, is sent to homework duty. On his visit, he feels nostalgic and cannot resist his lust for Julia and soon finds out an excuse to meet her. Okay, but he was actually there for business purposes. But hindi niya pinalagpas yun. He still wants to meet Julia. So Julia is still single, that forces Alfredo to dream about starting a new life with her. See, this guy is already married for 8 years, but after knowing that Julia is still married, is still single, I mean, he dreamt about having or have he dreamt about starting a new life or starting a life with her, like what ifs, the what if thoughts, like what if he married Julia, how his life would be like that. So however, he soon realizes that everything is not the same as it were before. Moreover, Julia has changed and lost something. Okay, so it was this part where um where the quotation that I um that I not posted, but that I showed a while ago, um, would be found. Okay, so it says here, all these years, since when? So he noticed, like, when they saw each other again, you know, um, it was the same person, but the feelings were different. I don't know if you know this song. I'm not sure if you know this song, but I remember the boy, but I don't remember the feelings anymore, like that. So he, like, the memories of him were still there, okay, but uh, I think it's Julia's feelings that changed, like, drastically. It wasn't like as before. Right? The attraction that she had before wasn't there anymore. And that's why, he had been seeing dead stars. And I believe that is why, that is like, this is the, the secret, not the secret, but the, the meaning behind the title Dead Stars. It was actually talking about, like, a memory of someone, you know. The feeling isn't the same anymore, but it's still there, like stars in the sky will always be there. Okay, so yeah. So that's actually it about um the Dead Stars, and I really do hope that you enjoyed reading this story. But you know, before we end, of course, let's talk about the characters. So we have here Alfredo Salazar, the son of Don Julian, um, a, a more than 30 years old man, a man more than in his 30s, and he is a bachelor early on in the story, of course. So he is engaged to Esperanza, but he is in love with Julia Salas. So we have here Esperanza later on became the wife of Alfredo Salazar, and Julia Salas, okay, the sister-in-law of Judge Del Valle, and she is the other woman of Alfredo Salas. Okay, so we have here Don Julian, the old man, the father of Alfredo Salazar, and Carmen, Salazar and Carmen. So Carmen, by the way, is the sister of Alfredo Salas, and you will notice them, or you will um if you read the story, there were the first characters that you'll be reading. So it was their conversation, father and daughter conversation. And we have here Judge Del Valle, brother-in-law of Julia Salas, and uh, Donna Adela, sister of Julia Salas. Okay, so these are the conflicts that occurred in the short story. The first one we have here, man versus circumstances. So in the story, Alfredo struggles against his fate and the circumstances in life and love that he is facing. So to he needs to face problems of choosing between difficult life choices of his. So the story is basically a compilation of the complicated circumstances that every man has to go through his life. Next, we have here man versus society. So in this story, Alfredo struggles against society because he was afraid of to the reaction of people around him, especially during the time of the story when they were considering of breaking off the engagement, like canceling the wedding. Like what would they think about it? Like that. So people oftentimes give high regard to the society which they belong, and they try to adhere the norms, traditions, and culture of their society, though sometimes the conformity would require them to sacrifice a part of themselves, an opinion, an emotion, or a decision. So that's man versus society there. And the last one we have here, man versus himself. And we were really able to see the struggle of Alfredo himself, whether he would choose to, um, pursue Julia or not, to to go on with the wedding or not. So Alfredo was uncertain and confused by his decision. He was torn between doing what is right and what is in his heart. This guy. Okay, so the Dead Stars, wait. All right. So The Dead Star is a short story written by Paz Marquez Benitez in 1925. Narrative story, and it was written in a third-person point of view. Philippine modern English literature was introduced through this story. So English was still a young language in the Philippines, and many writers using the language were still struggling with it. So if you notice, there were uh, a few unfamiliar words if in this story. I know that because a lot of you complained about it. And Paz Marquez Benitez, her masterpiece Dead Stars, is conveying the theme that pertains a forbidden love. Okay, so it says that forbidden love is only apparent in it banes hunts the person until such time that he realizes his fault. So that's actually it for the Dead Stars. I hope you enjoyed listening to me, and I hope you enjoyed reading the story. So another story will be given to you and will be discussed later on this week. So thank you so much and have a wonderful day. By the way, if you have questions, you can chat it in our group chat. Bye.